कौमी सफर के 70 साल।
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. 23rd March, Pakistan Resolution Day. Have we achieved all that we set out to do? Where we are and where do we plan to go? Are we on the path to the successes that were envisaged? Let's talk about all that today with our guests. I have with me Senator Sehr Kamran from the PPP. Thank you for joining us today. Saeed Khalid Saab, who's a former ambassador, thank you for giving us your time. And Javed Jadoon Saab, who's a senior analyst, thank you for being with us today. Sehr Saiba, to start off with you, the significance, the historical significance of the 23rd March as a nation. How far do you think are we successful from where we started?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I would like to extend my felicitations to all the Pakistanis here within the country and abroad on the 77th Pakistan Resolution Day. It's a very important day, and I believe more than to celebrate, this is a day to revive our pledge towards our beloved country, to fulfill our obligations that we all have. It's not only the responsibility of the government or any one person to contribute towards the country. We all are under debt towards our country, and I believe this is a day to look back and to look forward, to look towards the future, what we have achieved and what we have not. I believe the most important thing is that we should realize that what we have to do as a citizen of Pakistan. Maybe we are very good doctors, we are very good engineers, we are very good parliamentarians, but are we very good citizens? This is a very important question, which I believe we have to answer personally to our own self and also to the nation, that what we are and what we have done and what we have to. So this, once we identify our responsibilities, our obligations, I believe it will make our path much easier and much clearer. So what we have achieved, yes, in these 7 years and 70 years since our independence, we have achieved a lot, but at the same time, there are many challenges that we are facing today. Above all is the terrorism that we have to fight. The nation itself has to fight together with the unity. So I believe this is a time to follow the 3 principles of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the father of the nation: unity, faith, and discipline. I think we are a bit far from that.
Right. It's a very interesting thing that Senator Saiba said, Saeed Saab, when she talked about us being as professionals in different capacities, but as Pakistanis, when we talk about citizenship, of course, we talk about patriotism. Do you think that as a nation that we are as patriotic as perhaps we should be? Because, of course, I mean, we are, like Senator Saiba again said, we are perhaps, these are challenging times. We've had Zarb-e-Azab, we've launched Zarbul Fasad. We are in the midst of a war against terror. That is something that can't be denied, amidst all the other challenges as a nation that we have to fight and counter. In these kind of turbulent times, do you think that we are sufficiently patriotic today?
I think 23rd March is it is a great opportunity which comes every year, exactly to revive, to renew, to recommit to all those lofty goals. My own memories of 23rd March go back to 1956, when the Republican Constitution was adopted. Pakistan was declared a republic. And I think it sent a great wave of joy across the nation.
Right.
That now we are no longer under the British monarch. There is no Governor General. We are a full-fledged independent country with our own president, our own constitution, our own parliamentary system. And naturally what you said, what Senator Saiba has said, that this is a day of stock taking also, to see what we have achieved or what we have not achieved. I think it is, for our generation, it is important to to inform and to motivate the younger generation, the coming generation, because they are going to, tomorrow it's going to be their country, their burden, you know, they have to do everything. So to explain to them from the humdrum of, you know, life, from the electronic media, from the smartphones and games and all, it's very hard actually to make them focus or refocus on these very fundamental things. So I say it's an opportunity. Of course, a lot is done, a lot is shown by the media, but is the younger generation, you know, focused on all
and
that?
doesn't most of the younger generation just see 23rd March as a holiday,
Yes.
rather than embracing its spirit, embracing the goals it set out, evaluating themselves? What do you have to say to that, Javed sir?
Thank you very much. I think first of all, I would like to add to something what my colleagues have already stated. That is what we have done so far and what we have not been able to do. I strongly believe that it's a question of looking at the glass whether it is half empty or half filled. So my answer would be definite answer would be it is half filled. Look at how we started off from 1947, and you just fast forward to 2017. Today our defense is impregnable. We have got nuclear capability, we are a missile state, and we are among the 9 countries which have the nuclear capability, and a country which has formidable armed forces, a nation of 200 million people, a resilient nation. Look what we have done in the recent past. We have fought so resiliently against terrorism that the world is quoting Pakistan's examples of success as far as North Waziristan is concerned. Our nation has laid down more than 70,000 Pakistanis, men in uniform and civilians, have laid down their lives while fighting the menace of terrorism. And I think this is a big achievement as far as Pakistan is concerned. But unfortunately, the media, I believe as an analyst, that underprojected achievements as far as government is concerned. Secondly, we are talking about the infrastructure and the CPEC and all the other developments which have taken place in the country. I think still I believe that they are very underprojected. In the entire region, Pakistan has state-of-the-art infrastructure as far as roads are concerned. Not even India has motorways. India is projected as a power, as a global power, as a regional power. But I have been in India and I spent there 2 years in terms of my professional assignment. Indians still believe that Pakistan is far ahead as far as infrastructure is concerned. Our armed forces, despite the fact that we are a smaller nation, a smaller country in terms of size and population as well, vis-a-vis India, but I have many examples to quote that Pakistan's defense capability is so strong that no country can dare cast an evil eye on Pakistan. I think
when you talk about projection and we speak about evaluating ourselves, we speak about giving an image to the world. A direct result of that is what we see in our neighboring country. The perception in the world of how you are and how you're doing is exactly what you're talking about. And why have we not been able to create the kind of perception that perhaps India has?
I think there are 2 reasons. The number one reason could be the media's focus is on more on political issues. What has been happening in the recent past, Panama issue, nobody is in denial more that corruption is one of the biggest issues the country is facing today. But this is not the only issue which Pakistan is facing today. Nobody is talking about the youth bulge, which forms about 60 or even more than that, 60% or 62% of the country's population is a young population. One can use it in a productive manner and catapult the entire country and make it a different nation, what we see today. But nobody's talking about that. Secondly, the resilience of the nation, nobody talks about that. The way our nation has confronted the challenge of terrorism and extremism, there is not a there is not a single example anywhere in the world. Americans, they stayed in Afghanistan for about 12, 13 years. They have not been able to achieve the successes which we have done in the North Waziristan region. And secondly, I think economy, there are many skeptics, they believe that economy is on the rise. Everybody knows that.
Right.
Inflation is in single digit.
Right.
All the economic indicators are positive. Our stock exchanges are some of the best performing stock exchanges in the region. As far as India is concerned, India has been able to showcase its successes
Right,
while
that's
we have
right.
failed to do that.
Right.
And media, I think, even you know it, that media plays the pivotal role in showcasing these successes. While media is so obsessed with political issues that they have failed to understand that by ignoring the real successes Pakistan has achieved, we are not projecting our soft image to the global community.
Right. Let me come back to that. Let me take Senator Sahiba's view on that. You know, when we talk about the political issues in the country, granted they're very important, granted, you know, we have to all realize that the importance of corruption, of issues that will go to the fabric of the society, but to the root of the society. But considering the fact that, like Javed Saab is saying, you know, why do the good in our country, why do we not project ourselves? Do you think it's solely the political side of things that is mainstream, that is getting all the attention as far as the media is concerned, or there are more issues? What can the politicians do?
I think it's not only the responsibility of the media, it depends
Right.
on our personal conduct. The national trust is very important, the credibility.
Right.
You know, people will believe in us if we show that credibility, if we gain their trust. If the trust is shattered, who is going to believe in us? Yes, Pakistan as a resilient nation is being admired by everyone. Like we see every second Pakistani, he himself or the family must have faced some sort of loss due to this wave of terrorism.
Right.
And we have been fighting. Yes, we demonstrate our national spirit on 14th August, on 23rd March, but are we looking at the core? That exactly is not only the few days to be celebrated. Are we looking at the education system of Pakistan? Are we looking at that still we are at the second rank, having out of school children? You know, this is all our responsibility. It's not only the infrastructure. Yes, we have a youth bulge, but directing that youth bulge and using that potential to the right end is very important. It can only be done when we create certain opportunities. And then our diplomacy. How strongly are we promoting our narrative? If you look at the Indian diplomacy, let me be very honest and very frank. If you go to the world internationally, in every media house, in every top think tank, in every parliament secretariat, you will find an Indian placed.
Right.
Okay? This has not been done in one day. This has been done as a national campaign. And we totally ignored. Our foreign office is isolated, our ministries are isolated, we are so scared and so afraid of each other, we don't pursue the long-term policies. Our goals are very politically oriented, you know,
that's what I want to come to. You know, your political affiliations, your political loyalties are one thing, but you know, every politician, every doctor, every every nurse, every lawyer, every professional in this country, or a non-professional, every politicians perhaps more because they have a larger responsibility. That's what I believe personally, because they're in the public eye, they hold a public office, must take pride in being Pakistani.
Yes, we all do take pride. We
So
all do
then
fulfill
all
our
political
obligations, you know,
affiliations
despite our
are a
political
second.
differences.
Right.
We have been demonstrating that on all national issues,
Right.
we sit together, we stand together, we
Right.
come forward together, we
Right.
face together. We are not like making numbers on the national issues.
Right.
But exactly, it's not only the responsibility of some hundreds sitting in the parliament.
Right.
This is what I'm telling you, that the responsibility is of each and every citizen.
Right.
Are we educating our children? Are we making them understand that what is Pakistani narrative and how to promote that?
Right.
This is a very big responsibility. Those who go in the teaching professions are those who do not get opportunity elsewhere. Why we don't promote the best ones, the best brains to that profession?
Right.
So
Exactly.
this is very important, that we have to set the clear direction.
Right.
That what we have to achieve. Yes, Pakistan is a hub of potentials. With CPAC, with the development of Gwadar port, and other than that, we are a zipper of connectivity.
Right.
We are connecting the Central Asia to the Middle Eastern and African markets. But exactly, we can only do if we build the national trust. If we have distrust over the mega projects, if we had distrust over the government policies, then I am very, very scared
Right.
that we might not let these opportunities go waste.
Right. Right. Ambassador Saab, in your opinion, you know, the root of the problem, perhaps, you know, to some people, it's about setting the right path for the future generations. How do we go about that? Education is, of course, one way, but it has to come from every parent. It has to come from every house. Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely. What worries me really is that we are dividing the country into two classes.
Right.
The English medium and the rest. There is no conscious effort to make the system work for all the people. Unless we strengthen the public education,
Right.
and we give opportunities to the, you know, to the so-called lower class or poor class or whatever, this division is going to accentuate. Gated communities versus the rest. Private schools versus the public schools and the madrasas.
It's about the disparity, you're saying.
Absolutely.
Right.
This disparity is there, everybody knows it, but I don't see any effort being made to stop this and to promote the general interest of the people. You know, the Prime Minister took an initiative. He went over to schools in Islamabad, which mean public schools, government schools.
Right.
But this should happen everywhere, in every town, in every province. The emphasis should be on strengthening the public education system and to give confidence to the people, to the workers, to the others, that yes, you have a stake in this. And not only those who are rich here and rich abroad. They make their money here, take it abroad. You know, they buy properties abroad. So there is this class, they send their children abroad for education. Most of their children don't even come back. So
Right.
I feel very strongly about this.
Right. So you think it's really just about, Javed Saab, according to Ambassador Saab, it's about the uniform education system, which is of course one of the basic issues that we are facing.
And disparity, as you said.
And disparity also. But in your opinion, let's move on and let's talk about the media that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
You know, to a lot of us, it's about, you know, we have to agree that it's about the number game. It's about the ratings. So we're not really following, how ethical do you think, how Pakistani, I would like to ask, considering that we're talking about patriotism, we're talking about 23rd March, we're talking about the spirit of Pakistan. How Pakistani are we when we are talking about issues in Pakistan as media? That is particularly how Pakistanis are media. It is only about ratings. Don't you think it's not really so much about promoting content that is Pakistan friendly?
Yes, that's a very good question. But before I answer this particular question, I have a few observations to make what Senator Saab just said.
Right.
When she talked about the collective responsibility, I failed to understand what she's talking about. Is it the common man who is going to formulate country's security policy and country's energy policy and its domestic policies? Or is it the parliament which is the right platform to formulate policies? We see it day in and day out. How many people are sitting in the parliament nowadays? It's a house of more than 300 300 MNAs. But what really happens is not more than 50 people are very respectable MNAs sitting over there. It is the responsibility of the parliament to debate the national issues. It is not the responsibility of the common man to debate the issues. Whether it belongs to the realm of defense, national security, energy, or any other issue.
Which takes us to the root of the question, and I'll let Senator Sahiba answer that also. But you know, what are our parliamentarians doing? What is their responsibility as parliamentarians of this country? Is it only to be loyal, like I earlier said, to their political parties,
or loyal to the state, or
right.
loyal to the state, because
right,
they're
exactly.
two different things.
Right, or to be loyal to Pakistan as
Pakistan.
a Pakistan under
Exactly,
the green
exactly.
flag. When we talk about our country, when we talk about our nationalistic spirit. You know, who, like you're saying, who is going to lead that front?
Yes. And I think would be very appropriate if Senator Saab does answer that question. Now, your second part of your
Right,
question is that
let's talk about
how
media.
media is behaving and
Right.
why media is behaving the way it is behaving. You rightly pointed out the issue of TRP, the
Right.
target rating point issue.
Right.
Every channel now endeavors to be among the top rated channels in the country because of the financial gains they have and because of the anchors and the hosts they have employed and paying them in millions, literally, we know that.
Right.
Now, in contrast, what Indian media is doing, when the things got heated up on the eastern border, Pakistani media was definitely giving some attention to that particular issue when there were incidents of cross-border firing on
Right.
civilian population in Pakistan. But the entire media was unified in condemning Pakistan. Without any proof, the entire Indian media was used by the Indian establishment against Pakistan. They tried to build a case against Pakistan that terrorism is being perpetrated from Pakistani side. The Uri incident, or whatever incident you talk about,
Right.
only recently, I think a couple of days back, the incident which was blamed on Pakistan, I think it happened in 2015 or so, when two terrorists struck the shrine in
Right.
Jaipur,
Right.
and Pakistan was blamed. Ultimately, the two RS people were found to be involved in that particular terror incident, and they have been awarded life sentence over there. This is what really happens. Pakistan is always on the defensive because of the media. Media never talks about the unsubstantiated allegations which are being hurled by India because they are too fixated on political issues. Once they start talking about all the
But
dharnas
Javed
and all
sir,
the
they are fixated on political issues, but that is because of ratings. But it's because people want to watch that. People are interested in the political warmongering, I would say, that is being
But
shown on
here I have a
every
little
channel.
disagreement.
Right.
I think media is a pioneer in
Right.
building opinion because media is a opinion maker. You talk about political issues, people start, they're watching the TVs, all the TV talk shows.
Right.
The media basically has become a judge, jury and executioner. If you start talking about the climate change,
Right.
you talk about the poverty, you talk about employment issues, you talk about patriotism, you rightly pointed out.
Right.
There used to be only one television channel when there was no independent media. Pakistan television played a pivotal role in creating the notion of patriotism in Pakistan.
Right.
Those days have gone now. Even Pakistan television is not an institution which it used to be. While on the contrary, so much space has been taken over by the private media. But private media is not trying to create the patriotism which is
Right.
right now needed because we are in the middle of war against terrorism. We haven't won the war.
Right.
Maybe we have won a couple of battles, but the war is yet to be won.
Right.
Now, this very, very significant new phase of Operation Rad al-Fasad, unless and until we achieve successes and very, very comprehensive, decisive successes in this particular operation,
We would
I strongly
still need-
believe that
right.
terrorism can revisit Pakistan. But
Right.
are we talking about that?
Right.
No, we are not talking about that. Some of the media, independent or private media section of it, is giving a critique of the operations. But look what is happening. Only yesterday,
Under
a
the
young
guise
officer,
of being independent.
independent.
I think.
Only yesterday, a major and a Jawan laid down their lives. They embraced martyrdom while combating terrorism. Nobody is talking about that. Even this particular day, which is dedicated to the people of Pakistan, the resilience of the people of Pakistan, the sacrifices they offered while fighting terrorism, and the soldiers and officers of our armed forces.
Right.
I think this is the day we must pay tribute to them undivided. I think not much attention is being paid to it. But until and unless I agree with Senator Sahiba that if there is divisiveness, that is going to hurt Pakistan's interest. But at least on national issues,
There
the
has to
issues
be a
which are very
coherence,
dear
there
to
has to be
Pakistan,
unity,
there
right.
shouldn't be any division as far as political parties are concerned. Across the board, they can, but the platform once again is Parliament.
Right.
They can sit over there,
let's take
they can
Senator
forge a
Sahiba's take on
consensus that
Right.
these are the priorities, number 1, 2 and 3. I'm not talking about 10 or 12 priorities, 1, 2 or 3. Number 1 is terrorism. I think nobody can be in denial mode that the existential threat Pakistan faces today
Right.
is from terrorism. We win the war and we become a very, very strong nation economically as well. Until and unless we win decisively against terrorism, I think the whole perspective is very blurred because even the investment is not going to come from any foreign source
Right,
unless we
Javed
win the
sahab,
war.
let me ask Senator Saiba to comment on that. The responsibility of the parliament, are they doing enough? Are they setting the tone for us to
I
follow?
do accept the responsibility of the parliament, but exactly I think the discussion has been too narrow. When I talk about the national responsibilities, then I am not talking about only the security policies, all the diplomatic policies or the national policies. I am talking about the overall behavior, overall conduct, the overall narrative that the nation has to build. Parliament is very much reflection of what we are. We cannot take just parliament in isolation. I think that is a collective responsibility that we all owe. That we have
But
to, we have to,
Senator Saiba,
yes,
the
parliament.
responsibility should be at least a tad higher when we talk about our parliamentarians.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I think if there is also a perception when we are talking about the perception that India is creating. So I would say that perception management is the strongest warfare today. This tool has been effectively used to distort Pakistan's image. Similarly, this tool has been effectively used to distort the image of the parliamentarians. We are not as bad as perceived by a common man or in the discussions. I think we are doing a lot. We start working from the day, from the morning till the end of the day only on our collective endeavor to serve our country. Yes, but it is not translated in the true sense. And that's why, because of a minority, a stigma is being carried out by everyone. It's not. First of all, we have to see that we have to secure the image of our country, and that's not the responsibility of only a parliament. Yes, parliament, as a parliamentarian, we do owe responsibility. We have taken the oath. We have to fulfill our obligations. But exactly as a nation, yesterday, a day before yesterday, I was there at an Australian function, and I witnessed a long queue, each and every person standing in a queue waiting for their turn to go inside. Whether you go to any other assembly, you would not see that. You will not witness that. Why? I think this is what I feel, that there is something lacking in our behavior. These moral values, social values, ethics, and patriotism should be very much part of the curriculum. It should be taught from the home, and it should be taught from the schools. And up till now, we have not been able to educate all our children. And then again, I would like to say that the media, what media is going to show? Media is going to show what is our conduct as a nation. If we see that when we go to the foreign land, we would find a garbage can and put the trash there.
The rules,
but exactly here, we would not bother that how we are creating pollution and how we are spreading it. What is the condition of our hospitals? It's not only that the government is not giving the funds, it is the way how we are wasting it, how we don't take care of our national assets. So it's altogether, as far as the about the attendance, I would say yes, we do make sure that we are present there. But unfortunately, our Prime Minister is not interested to be in the Parliament. So exactly, there are some very valid issues. I would like to pay tribute to our armed forces. Yes, their sacrifices. We all pay tribute. We appreciate they have done a lot for the countries. They are fighting all those soldiers who are at the borders and who are fighting the most difficult internal war against this terrorism. We salute them. Also, we salute all the civilians who have sacrificed their life for the country. So there is no a second thought on that. We all praise, we all salute, and this is a day even to pay tribute and salute to all those who have sacrificed for the creation of our homeland, who have sacrificed for building this homeland. So it's not only just paying the tribute, but actually are we really successful in achieving what we were supposed to? Is National Action Plan a no action plan, or it has been equally implemented in all the provinces, or we are only trying to build a data bank of the successes of our armed forces? Are we really addressing the root causes of terrorism? With just killing the terrorist will not eliminate terrorism until and unless we address the root causes of terrorism. And that is the state's responsibility. That has to be done by the state. Otherwise, we can't win this war.
Right, definitely not. Ambassador Sahab, Senator Sahab was talking about the responsibility of the state, and of course the state has a higher onus, it has a higher responsibility. But when we talk about inculcating the right values in our children, when we talk about raising a nation that is patriotic, like I talked about earlier, where are we lacking? Education is definitely one thing, but what are the other main issues that as a nation, we can address?
Number one, the premium should be on the citizen,
Right.
being a citizen, fulfilling the responsibilities of a citizen, enjoying the privileges of a citizen,
Right.
not of the selected few. I get elected MNA, I put a plaque on my car, MNA, this should be punished. Because this tendency to rise above the rest, unfortunately, I will again talk about the education system, because what is the education system today? It's all about grades. If the parents hear the child got a good grade, they are celebrating. If
Right.
they hear the child didn't do well, their faces are pulled down.
Right.
What about civic sense? What about principles in life? What about honesty, values, you said? Values have to be taught.
But honoring, I would say honoring values, celebrating values, that is a culture.
Yes.
That is, education is definitely a part of being, inculcating the right values. But that has to start at your parents' knee. It has to start
Absolutely.
from the very basic education. And as a nation, it has to come from every household.
I tell you how the problem looks. The most important thing right now in bringing up children is get ahead.
Right,
A child is told, get ahead.
right,
He's not told by what means. I would say a child should be taught, get in line.
right,
That is most important. And don't cheat. And don't usurp other people's right. It's not being done.
right.
It has to start from the family, but it has to be done in the schools and all these private schools.
What about
which-
the intelligentsia? What role can they play? What about as a nation, our intelligentsia, our in their private capacity, our teachers, our heroes, our elders
I
in the
can tell
society?
you, I can tell you that the intelligentsia is behaving in the same daft way
Right.
vis-a-vis their children. They are not teaching values to their children. They are just asking them, what grade did you get? You came second, why not first? Get ahead, get ahead. This is the norm right now. This norm is not going to lead us anywhere. It's
Right.
going to lead to further division, further tension within the society.
Right,
The premium should be on citizenship and on being a citizen, like the old Greek philosophers said.
Right.
The citizens' rights should be respected, they should be celebrated, they should be inculcated, but nobody is thinking about these things.
right, right.
It's sad.
Do you think, Javed Sahab, do you think a part of that is celebrating our heroes? We have not celebrated our heroes as a nation, that perhaps we should have, so that, our children could have seen that the kind of heroes we've had, celebrating them, knowing who to celebrate even. I think there's a definite lapse in our education as far as teaching our kids that these are your elders, these are your heroes as a nation to celebrate. Even when we talk about Quaid-e-Azam, when we talk about Allama Iqbal, when we talk about even people like them, there was a time
Absolutely.
when we were teaching our kids more about them. When there was and now our education system, perhaps a page or two in the textbook, it's clearly not enough.
Yes, I agree with you. I think we can't even imagine a nation state without heroes.
Right.
Anywhere in the world, when you try and understand any nation state without heroes, there's no nation state.
Right.
Now, look what is happening. Every year it comes to 23rd of March and comes to 14th of August, and we start talking about the independence movement and then the creation of a separate homeland for the Muslims
Right.
of subcontinent. But I can't agree more with you that how many kids, the young boys and girls, know about the heroes who really made it possible to have an independent Muslim homeland
Right.
in the subcontinent. I think very few, because even the curriculum is not focusing on that. As Ambassador Sahab pointed out, the two different systems of education in Pakistan. One is entirely focusing on the elite of the country, the other is for the common man.
Right.
But once again, I would like to make a couple of observations what Senator Sahab has said. I think she quoted an extremely important example that we lack discipline.
Right.
But my question is, when we talk about the nation not having discipline, who are they emulating? This is the big question, I think needs to be answered as well.
Right.
And I can quote an example. Almost every major national newspaper has carried the story about the former Chief Justice of Pakistan, Iftikhar Chaudhry, and his son. What happened, he was outside the country. He tried to break away from the queue, and then one passenger confronted both of them that, listen gentlemen, you need to follow the queue. And the way the story has been reported, that the former Chief Justice of Pakistan, he was not an ordinary citizen, a gentleman who always talked about principles, who always talked about setting example for the rest of the people to follow. I mean, these are the examples which the elite, you rightly pointed out, the intellectuals of the society and the academia, the politicians.
I agree with you. You know, there is no doubt about what you're saying. I mean, in principle, what you're saying, it's very true. But I have an issue with that incident and the way it was reported. Firstly, an incident like that, you know, you can't, from the video that has been circulated, one, it was, of course, it was taken without permission by a bystander. Second, that kind of the footage does not clearly show whether they were actually, you know, business class passengers and entitled to a certain privilege and therefore not in the wrong, or they were actually, you know, trying to bypass a line, which could very well be true. I don't have the means to say one or the other. But my issue really is that, you know, when then again we come to the concept of responsible journalism. When we take a little snippet of a video here and there and, you know, we quote that, and, you know, not to take away from your point, which I completely agree with, that, you know, when we have a certain responsibility in position of power and we have to own up to that, and in every step of the way, so that we can be celebrated, our children can, and hold up to that image of us, which is relevant to Iftikhar Chaudhry Saab as it is to anyone in the public eye.
For that matter.
But I just want to say that, you know, responsible journalism is going behind and finding out what the information that you have, if it's actually accurate. And we're not really doing that also, are we?
We're not doing that. I think this is another important point of discussion. I think media, when we were talking about how we can inculcate the spirit of patriotism and unity and discipline, etc., I think it comes down to media. Because media has become so powerful in Pakistan that I think without involving media, you really can't bring about any change in the society. Right. Whether it belongs to the climate change or terrorism or poverty or whatever you talk about under the sun. Because media has come to play a dominant role not only in Pakistan but every country in the world. Right. And without involving media in a way, and media itself, I think we all understand that every media house has certain editorial policy. Right. When you have an editorial policy, you need to decide and discuss what issues today you are going to talk about. Right. Other than political issues, you go for that because that is the TRP related issue. You need to earn more money to sustain as far as your media house is concerned. Right. Do that. But what are the issues you need to discuss in any given day? Because country is facing so many other issues, like the traffic jams. It's such a frivolous issue as far as media is concerned. But you and me, when we travel, the common commuters, in big cities of the country, every day we watch scenes that there's so much traffic jam, long queues of cars, and people ordinarily they should be taking 1 hour. It takes them even 4 to 5 hours to reach their homes. Now, other issues as well. When we talk about the issue of unity, the political divisiveness which we see on so many occasions, media can even put pressure on the political parties as well, on the political players as well. When they start talking about forging unity, I think ultimately it does matter. Even the very important the point raised by the Senator Sahiba, that at least she had the moral courage to admit that it is the responsibility of the parliamentarians to lead from the front. Right. Now, even media can play a very, very important and significant role in this particular regard. If every day they start talking about the issue of quorum and they pressurize the parliamentarians who are the representatives of the people of Pakistan, and people of Pakistan invested so heavily on them, so it is their responsibility to go to the parliament house, even if the Prime Minister doesn't visit. Does it sort of block them to sitting in the Parliament House? I think that would provide the opposition a major opportunity to do the point scoring as well in some way or the other, because political parties do point score. But even they can talk about genuine national issues over there. They can put the government on the mat. So government would be pressurized. They would be pressurized in a way that they will respond, maybe not today, tomorrow.
Right. Senator Saiba, what do you have to say to that?
To this question, I would say that I believe that still being in opposition and being respecting, as far as my party is, that we give a very high value to the democratic norms and we make sure that we are present. Unfortunately, to the very important questions, the ministers are not available to answer, which is like, I will say that the loss of the very valuable time of not only the parliament but also of what people expect from us. So but again, I would like to further add to that. Yes, media, that media is a very strong medium, and it can help in building the, in educating the people, educating and building the nation. So I believe that all the TV channels, whether those are private or that is a state television, they should devote some time on the character building of the nation. That is very important.
Right.
We have to build the nation. We have to make it strong. Just building the infrastructure would not resolve our issues. Let us build the nation, and we will have a strong nation to build the country, to build the infrastructure. So, and then again, we were talking about the education. Before I forget, I don't want to miss this point. I fully agree with the Ambassador Sahab that we have to eliminate classes, and I was recalling my student life slogan that eliminate classes, educate masters. So this is very important, that we should rise above those class system and we should have a quality education for everyone. It is very unfair that we teach something else in the public schools and we teach something else in the private school. And to this, let me bring to your notice a very important and pertinent point, that recently it was one of my calling attention notice that one of the social studies book of grade 5, which was being taught in many schools in Islamabad, was teaching Azad Jammu and Kashmir as the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. This was a very serious matter. I brought it to the parliament, and for the first day the minister was not there to answer. It was taken to the next week. Next week minister came and he just concluded that the book is banned. Banning a book is not a solution. Solution is to scrutinize and screen the curriculum to see what we are teaching to our children and how we are like distorting the national narrative. So there is responsibility on each and every person, right, whether they are labor, whether they are farmer, whether they are sitting in the ministries, whether they are working in the public offices or the banks or anywhere else on a private job, or whether sitting in the parliament. Yes, I do accept that we have responsibility. That I do agree with that exactly we stand as a role model. But exactly, it's not only some 104 members in the Senate.
Right,
if
right.
you look at the Senate proceedings, you will find that what hard work we are doing is not only to make the laws. It is more important to implement the laws.
But that hard work also is not. It's not. Perhaps we don't hear about it as much as we hear about the critique,
very unfortunate.
Which is the point that we've been trying to make.
I would say that the whole proceedings of the parliament should be open to the public. It
Right.
should be open to the media. It should be telecasted. Exactly,
Right.
people will become more conscious of what they are saying,
And
how they are behaving,
Right.
and it will create more awareness.
Right.
But why we just limit it to the speeches of the ministers and the prime ministers and the high office holders, and that they should only,
But
their
perhaps
talk
because
should only.
that makes for more masala as far as
Otherwise,
our TV
if we
ratings are
open,
concerned.
if there is a channel dedicated to the public where the Senate proceedings or the parliament proceedings are broadcasted, I believe it would be open. Everyone will be more conscious and people will be more aware of what we are doing.
Right, right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining me, Senator Saiba.
Before we close, let me just end with the prayer for my country. खुदा करे कि इस अर्ज़े पाक पे उतरे वो फसले गुल जिसे अंदेशा ज़वाल न हो.
Amen. Thank you.
खुदा करे कि मेरी अर्ज़े
On
पाक
that
पे
note,
उतरे.
thank you so much for giving us your time, Senator Saiba, Ambassador Saab, Javed, Jadoon Saab. Thank you for being with us. There is no doubt that it is a goal. Patriotism, nationalistic spirit is something that our nationalism is something that we all have to strive towards. It is true that the Pakistani within all of us is not dead, and it is true that we all know that Pakistan is our country, Pakistan Zindabad, and we hope that we all can work towards a more unified goal of a better Pakistan, a better nation. Thank you so much for joining me today on Perspective.
कौमी सफर के 70 साल
Jinnah in Pakistan. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the man who gave his soul to us, the founder of Pakistan, in the meeting with the organizing committee of the first Pakistani Olympic game held at Karachi, Jinnah said to the first president of Pakistan Olympic Association, Mr. E.H. Ahmed, said, "Dictate yourself to sports promotion, for when you and I agree are gone, leadership will go to the hands of youth, and youth is our wealth, a raw material that must be hammered into shape, into burnished steel to strive and smite in defense, the defense of the integrity and solidarity of Pakistan, the defense of the ideology of Pakistan." The first national games were held at Polo Ground, Karachi from April 23rd to April 1948. Sportsmen and the officials from East Pakistan and all the integrated provincial unit of West Pakistan participated. 140 athletes, all from Pakistan, were there. No international player was invited. Basketball, boxing, cycling, track and field, volleyball, weightlifting and wrestling events were held. Jinnah, despite frail health, showed keen interest. To him, sports was the binding force, forged unity and could bring positive social change.
कौमी सफर के 70 साल।
March, Pakistan's Republic Day. 70 years of success. 7 generations